Mr. Ferguson, I think you are a product of your environment, but I don't believe you that you're sorry. I don't. I don't think you have empathy. I don't think you have any emotion whatsoever. I think you're sorry that you're here. I think you're sorry you got caught. I don't think you wanted Tim to die either, like your mother, because you would get caught and you wouldn't torture him anymore. Believe me, I've tried to sit here and try to think, well, maybe Mr. Ferguson's not as bad as Mom. I think you're just as bad, if not worse. If not worse.
Some of the words the judge said I've heard before.
Oh, have you? Like
sorry, I was sorry I got caught.
Yeah.
How many times have I heard that? You know, when I was young and ornery. Yeah, there were times I was sorry that I got caught. But we're talking someone died. Why would I be sorry I got caught? Told him everything.
Welcome back. So today we are diving into part 2 of our coverage of Paul Ferguson's interrogation. For anyone who watched part 1 or who is on my community tab, then you know that this original video was supposed to be one massive upload. However, technical difficulties forced me to separate this and release it in parts, which honestly is better for everyone's mental health, I think. Because this case is so difficult to get through, I'm glad we can chunk it up and take it in a little bit at a time, because this whole video was around 7 hours long in total, and that is a lot. So we pivot. I was able to recover most of my original video with some errors here and there, so forgive if some of the quality cuts out here and there or like looks a little wonky. At the end of the day, I'm just glad I'm getting this out there. And if you didn't see part 1 or are unfamiliar with this case, this is involving the death of Timothy Ferguson, who was Shanda Vander Ark's biological child and Paul Ferguson's biological brother. You will hear me refer to them as his biological family multiple times because it is important to the overall context of all of this and how horrific it truly was. Timothy was a 15-year-old autistic disabled child who was tortured by those two and starved to death. I put that out there up front because that is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the horrors that these two committed against him. So if that is something you cannot handle, I completely understand. Please take care of yourself first. Do whatever you need to do for your own mental health and safety. And if this is not the case for you, we'll see you in the next one. If you are familiar with the case, you know that Shanda Vander Ark got most of the virality and the spotlight put on her just because of how truly evil and depraved every one of her actions was/is. So much so that Paul Ferguson's actions got brushed under the rug a little bit in terms of who should be taking responsibility for what. These two were co-collaborators. And when they got caught, they tried to point the finger at each other and save themselves, which ultimately did not work for either of them, leading to Shanda receiving 50 to 100 years or a life sentence in prison for first-degree murder and child abuse, while Paul Ferguson pled guilty to first-degree child abuse and received 30 to 100 years. At first, many thought this was too much for him because there's this assumption that he was just manipulated by his mom and that he would not have done what he did if he had the proper influences. I wholeheartedly disagree, and I think the rest of this interrogation will prove why. So before we dive in, I'm going to play some warnings that I had from my last video. If you're new here, welcome to the world of long-form rant content where there is no structure or goal. It is just me reacting until we get through the video. And it takes however long it takes. So if you are here to watch this video all the way through, this is not the video for you. There will be a link in the description to this video, which is, great time to plug them, supplied by No Commentary Interrogations. I love clear branding. So click that video down below if you want to just see the interrogation all the way through. So that is just your early warning. That also brings me to a lot of the clips that I will pull, including the opening clip that we just saw, will come from @ZavGirl on YouTube. She absolutely blew the lid on this case. She has all of the text, all of the phone calls, the video. She has interviews with family members. She has really done the research on this case. So if you want to become an expert on this case and go down that rabbit hole, go over to her channel and check her out. Also on this channel, I express no authority whatsoever. So you take what you take, you leave what you leave. But if you leave a like on the way out, because that's just good home training. And with all that said, now I'm going to play the last 2 minutes of part 1 in order to lead us into part 2.
It was, yeah. Were you able to have a conversation with him like you and I are having, like a back and forth conversation, or he wasn't able to talk like that? He could talk, but the thing is that it would mostly be hard to understand. Okay. Because of the speech impediment. I don't know what that word is. Speech impediment? Yeah, there we go. But, he was in therapy for that and the motor. When he up here? No, in Oklahoma. Do you know him being in any therapy or anything up here? No. Okay. Do you know if you ever went to the doctor at all? Here? No, honestly, we never, until, I don't know, we managed, since we stopped the last hunger strike and managed to get him back to a safe weight, we were hoping and praying that he wouldn't need any sort of assistance at that point, which he didn't. He was fine. But then this whole ordeal happened, and I honestly feel like we should have taken him to the doctor sooner. We could have done something, but with all this happened,
Yes, Paul, you could have done something. You should have done something. This awareness is just like, again, this is the day after he died. And 2 days before this one, you were still torturing him. So you having all these magical revelations in front of a police officer 2 days later, I'm not buying it. You could have done so many things. You could have told anyone. You could have gone to your neighbor. You could have said anything to anyone. But no, what did you do? You just sat there.
Hiya, neighbor.
With your goofy ass, just being nothing. Going to work every day smiling, playing your games on YouTube, talking to, I don't know, maybe your follower, and just having your best day, all while leading a double life of part-time sadist to do the things that you did to him. But he couldn't even talk normally. So when we hear all of these, he was dangerous, he was ornery, he was this, he was that, he wouldn't listen, he misbehaved, and you keep hearing he can't talk well, he can't walk well, he hears too well, he can't feel pain the same way, and you're still calling him dangerous, and you will continue to insult him nonstop in this entire interview, trying to say we stopped the hunger. And that was the end of part 1. I don't really remember my transition into this next part, but in part 1 I mentioned that I would be looking at the highlights of Paul Ferguson's text messages from January until when Timothy was murdered. And they're only Paul's side of the text messages because Shanda's are even worse and are a huge distraction from how bad his are. Some of these texts are hard to get through, so just a warning beforehand. In part 1, we covered highlights from his January text messages. Now we're going to move to highlights from his February text messages. And this is just to recontextualize this whole little act we're seeing. February 1st. I'm ready to kill Timothy already. He left the back door cracked to where the wind opened it and Piper could slip out while I was asleep. Still ornery, he snuck an ice cream cone and was halfway done when I got out. Please hurry home, because at this point, I'm ready to knock him out. And yes, I had him trash it. Yes, he still keeps testing my patience, though. February 2nd. Ornery as ever. No, he won't stay focused. When do you get home? I've about had it with Timothy. Like always, I can't even go to the bathroom. I used the upstairs and told him not to move. I dozed off by accident and he ate something. He's telling me it was chips, but it didn't sound like it. No, because he was trying crap. I put him against the wall. And he won't tell me how on the tablet he keeps trying to lie his way out. He was on there when I woke up, and I decided to lay there and watch as he was laughing at something on his tablet, and he keeps trying to say it was schoolwork stuff. Timothy hasn't even asked when he goes to the bathroom and keeps looking at G's iPad. When we got upstairs, he snuck pretzels again. Yes, I woke up to Timothy playing on G's tablet and just about smacked him. He tried to steal food. I stopped him. Timothy tried to get G to lie and get him out of trouble. Sorry, I just wanted to tell you that way because I'm already wanting to knock him out. He was watching his iPad and tried to get G to lie about it. February 9th, ornery as always. I was still tired, and after he walked the dog, I sent him downstairs and fell asleep on the couch, only to wake up and find him miraculously in your room watching G's iPad. February 10th. Since he's probably not going to get anytime soon, can I have Timothy's last Christmas cake? I was about to say Timothy's been good for the most part, but he just snuck a pizza roll as I was texting. February 12th. I can't even be on my devices now with confidence that Timothy will behave. He literally snuck an ice cream cone while I was on my tablet, which I don't really buy. Yes, he had the wrapper. Shanda tells him to make Timothy throw up. Of course, now that I did, he was finally honest and told me when he got it a while back. Shanda then says she's going to buy the syrup that will make him throw up. February 14th, Valentine's Day. Timothy apparently ate my Pop-Tarts a few days back. He said he doesn't know the exact date. He's not being honest with me. I can't get a straight answer. February 15th. He keeps trying to go to the bathroom without permission. February 16th. He grabbed some of Adam's butterscotch while I was grabbing G's backpack. Oh, and he tore one of the hooks off on the wall, so I moved him to the corner. February 18th. I don't know, he's being a moron. For now, I've left Timothy's eyes uncovered, but if he keeps looking around, I'll put the mask on. Him. February 19th. Since Timothy won't be using it soon, can I borrow his jacket? Mine's was in the basket Sharma peed on. February 22nd. Because I haven't allowed him to get up because he disturbed my sleep earlier after you left. He was making racket and talking. I chewed him out already. No, I don't trust him whatsoever. February 25th. Good, except Timothy won't stay against the wall. He keeps getting off the wall for stupid crap I can't deal with. February 28th. Yes, he grabbed chips, I know. And wow, so that was February. Some of these texts are really hard to get through. Just putting it contextually, like this is just mind-blowing how you can sit there and try to act like this and then you're shocked you got 30 to 100 years. That judge was 100% spot on correct. He said multiple times the guidelines don't even take into account the horrors that those two committed.
The charge here is child abuse. And I don't think this charge or the sentencing guidelines take into adequate consideration of the long sustained torture in this case.
And I can't believe that at first I thought that was too big of a sentence. It's not. He's mad because he says on these phone calls that he doesn't want to spend his prime years in jail.
I'm not looking for, at this point I'd say I'm not looking for no time. I don't want to spend the rest of my prime, most of my life practically incarcerated.
Sorry about it. Timothy spent his whole life in hell, so you can deal with it.
Well, I mean, how long ago do you think you probably should have sent him to the doctor? Honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I'd say the day after the divorce. We got a message about the divorce. And the thing is that my mother can't even face my father right now. She doesn't want to call him because the one thing that she and I both know is that he's going to hurl every ounce of blame that he can at her.
So when was that divorce?
I think it was exactly a week ago today or tomorrow. Something like that.
So about a week ago. You saw it.
Yeah,
I saw on your phone that you had sent a couple pictures to your mom.
Yes.
Pretty skinny, and you said, hey, he's nothing but skin. But
yeah, I was very concerned. It just.
What do you think that maybe would have been a good time to take him to the doctor, or?
Yeah, honestly, that probably would have been one too. I don't know.
And then you sent a picture of his legs that were just basically gone, right?
Yeah,
no wonder he can't stand, or something along the lines.
Yeah, but the thing is, before yesterday, and I think the day before, he could walk.
Yeah.
He might need a little support every so often, like he put his hand against the wall or grabbed the rail of the stairs. But after a couple of seconds, he'd let go and be fine.
Okay.
It was never anything major.
Yeah. When was the last time he was really talking to you, able to have a conversation, or at least try to have a conversation?
Last time he actually talked was 3 days ago, but the day before, or the day after that, the day before yesterday, he talked a small amount in the morning, but then he just sort of was making groans and moans, and it concerned me. As my mother was driving me to work, I recommended that maybe we should take him to the hospital.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that ever happened or not.
What did she say about that when you made that recommendation?
I don't know. I think after that, I think that was as I was getting out of the car and shutting the door.
So we're talking, today's the 7th, yesterday the 6th. What day are we talking the last time he was really kind of talking outside of the morning?
The 5th. He talked some in the morning. He was responsive.
Yeah.
That much I know.
What's the photograph in the back of his face? Zoomed in on his face?
He'd been taking a bath.
Okay.
And I went in there to check on him at one point, and he was just kind of laying there. I'm like, bud, you okay? He didn't respond, but he was looking around, and he was breathing, I know that much.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So at that time, but he wasn't talking at that time?
No, and it started to concern me. I'm not sure if I texted Mama about it or not.
Well, you sent a picture to her.
Yeah, I probably should have said something about the ER at that point, though.
Well, I'm sure it was
so stupid.
You have to think about it like this, right? She's a grown adult, and if she sees that, that's not all on you, right? You made, from what I see, you made numerous attempts to say, we need to do something different about this.
Yeah.
We can't keep doing this.
I know she's a good person. And it's not about, I don't know if this is both of our faults, if we should have done something sooner. I know we both could have. Yeah.
Yes, you absolutely should have and could have done something. Isn't it just miraculous how 24 hours after your tortured brother dies, now you come to all of these revelations of, well, we should have taken him to the ER last week after the divorce, and then 2 weeks prior, that's when he got off of his hunger strike. So it doesn't make sense. If he's off of his hunger strike 2 weeks back, 1 week later from that, you're still debating whether you should take him to the ER or not. If he was off the hunger strike, like you claim, he should have been getting better, and your fears should have been earlier on and not as they proceeded. However, if the torture just kept amping up and kept going, then you could come to that conclusion. I still don't think you did. Because you keep saying, we talked about going to the doctor, we could have gotten the ER. No, you didn't. You knew not a single solitary soul could look at Timothy in the state that he was in without seeing you all as the monsters that you are. So you were determined that you were both going to make him better and make him a better person by torturing and starving him. And then when I act like they had no other resources. I called you goofy earlier because that's exactly who you are. This lanky, useless, fictional character. This persona that's in front of us is a fictional character. And he latched on to some things from the detective. The detective says that's not all on you. And he latches on that because he heard that's not on you. That's why he's going, she's not a bad person. She just wants what's best for him. What about you? Are you a bad person? You're the one who actually did the things. Most of them. And you said you wanted to take them to the doctor the day after the divorce. So I'm guessing that's the divorce, the ex-wife and the biological father. And you didn't want to contact the father because he was going to hurl the blame onto her. And that probably also added to her torturous, what I was going to say parenting style, but it wasn't parenting. It was like her torturous slave dungeon. And that's honestly not that far of a stretch based off of how he was treated and what he was expected to do. Chores, nonstop, zero autonomy over anything. That one message really took me out when he says, if he is looking around, if I see him looking around, I'm going to put the mask on him. Sensory deprivation on top of all the other tortures. You can't move, you can't see, you can't taste, you can't feel. And if you have feelings on the inside and you let them out, then you're being disrespectful and rude and evil and mean. And all of these responses that we hear from them in the text messages, I'm like, you are telling me he has these verbal impairments? Yet you portray his responses as villainous monologues, prosaic insults as if they came from a mastermind and not a 15-year-old. And I'm really glad that the detective keeps circling back. When is the last time he could talk? 3 days ago? Wow. So he was just, because his body was literally shutting down. So he lost the strength and the ability to speak. And then he wants to slip in there, while I was going to work, I did say you should take him to the hospital. I'm not sure if that happened or not. What do you mean? Y'all talk about absolutely everything. You would 100% know if that happened or not. But you want to be coy and say, well, I did try to plant the seeds of maybe we're going too far, maybe this, maybe that. And you did. You recognized that you were going too far, and you never stopped. There was absolutely zero physical abuse done to you, Paul Ferguson, while you lived at Shanda Vander Ark's house. So you had nothing but power and freedom to make your own choice without fear of physical repercussions. Anything that you could have feared from her is all emotional. Thus is bull when 90% of your tortures were physical. And then you say he was taking a bath. This is the first introduction, I think, of the bath, and the detective's going to go into it further. But taking a bath, you're not mentioning taking an ice bath. A bath that you put ice in. Why? Just because you're sick. I don't know. That doesn't help anything. That does nothing but only further cause pain to someone who is literally starved at that moment. But the she's not a bad person. Those sirens are coming for you. But I can't get over the, I'm so stupid. Yeah, you want us to believe that. You are stupid for going down this plan, but you weren't stupid in the sense of, how could I not have known that something was wrong? I should have done something. I was just so stupid. It's no, like the judge said, you're mad that you got caught. And you don't want to hear that because, and in one of the jail calls, he says he's heard that all his life. Red flags everywhere. I'm not saying I was a perfect child or anything, or a perfect person or anything like that. I don't know if I've ever been told you're mad you got caught, since like adulthood. Because most people just own their shit if you do something wrong. But it seems like it's a consistent pattern of you where you get caught, you show fake remorse, and they tell you you're not actually sorry, you're just mad you got caught. So you want to say, I'm so stupid and she's not a bad person. That's that subtle sidestep, that subtle distancing. And the detective is helping him out because he's doing a great job of not accusing him yet and trying to get him to still be talkative, because there is so much that he has to explain himself for. And right now he's using this soft approach and he's telling everything. If he came at him the way he wants to come at him, Paul would have completely shut down. So, good job, officer. Detective.
I mean, I think you have to think about this. Right now is not a time about blaming people, but it's a time to try to figure out, you know, when could we have changed things? What could we have done differently? How did we get to the point where we were at? Because, you know, clearly where you guys got to, when you say you was in the bath, that wasn't a nice, enjoyable bath, though, right? That was a punishment bath, right? That's a cold, ice cold bath. And that doesn't, that's hard to understand.
I did wash that. I did tell him that if he wanted to wash up, and he did, but then in the middle of it, I think the whole laying there in a daze happened.
When he's getting these ice baths, I know there's numerous of them, right? I mean, because I've read through the messages.
Yeah.
How are you getting the ice? Like, where's it coming from?
We have an ice machine upstairs. It's not a lot. It can barely create any. It's enough to make it a full-on.
But it's a cold bath.
Yeah.
And you're putting ice in there? Like, one dump of ice, 2 dump?
One dump. Yeah, it's maybe that much.
And then you're just running cold water, or what type of water?
The water doesn't exactly go cold. Okay. It says there's a cold button, but it's basically sort of lukewarm-ish.
How many times would you estimate that you guys gave cold baths as a punishment for not eating or whatever, for whatever reason?
I think for punishments, it was, I don't exactly know the number, but it wasn't a lot.
Are we talking like 5, 10, 20, every day, every other day? Like, any idea?
5.
Whose idea was it to give him a cold bath as a punishment?
It was my mother's. I wasn't sure if it would be a punishment effective or not.
Do you remember the first time you guys did it? Like, why? Like, what did you do?
Not exactly.
What did you do on that day that you snapped the photo that made you have to give him a cold bath?
I think it was that he not only peed, but also pooped in bed, and my mother wasn't too happy because it absolutely reeked.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about that. I understand you've been to the house and you've been through all the messages.
Yeah.
Where did you sleep most of the nights? In that closet?
Yes.
When did that kind of start happening? Or had you always been staying there?
No, he hadn't always.
Okay.
But the thing was, the loft bed, if you've noticed, just screws and stuff, that was his doing.
Okay.
And we couldn't get it safely back.
Yeah.
So you couldn't, or you didn't try. So because Timothy is so destructive, he took the screws out of a bed, screws that can never be replaced or reinforced or anything about anything. And because he took those screws out, he had to live in a closet. A closet smaller than the space Harry Potter was allowed under the steps. I'm about to show a picture of the closet, so feel free to skip ahead if you don't want to see it. But in 3, 2, 1. This is where he slept and spent most of his time. They put a tarp on the floor and an Amazon box for him to use the bathroom in. And he was supposed to stay there for hours and hours and hours on end with alarms strapped to him. Also, with his heightened sense of hearing in that small room, those alarms are going to echo even louder. There's no space for that sound to disperse, so it is just going to be surrounding him nonstop. Yet you're mad because you said that his alarms woke you up. Right. But let's move back. The detective is starting to shift things ever so slowly. I'm really impressed by him. He keeps reinforcing, I've read the text messages, so I'm just letting you know, this little sidestep of, well, he was taking a bath. Okay, we both know they're ice baths. Well, it's not a lot of ice. It's only like a handful or two. It doesn't matter. You were trying to make the bath as cold as you possibly could, and if you had access to more ice, you would have put it in there. For what reason? Other than to torture someone. Oh, but Paul says, well, I told him he could wash up in there. He was in there for 9 hours. Is he supposed to be cleaning himself the whole time? Oh, wait, he can't because he can't even move. And then you're punishing him because he's incontinent and used the bathroom everywhere because he has no control over his body at this point. You said he stopped speaking 3 days ago and is only making noises as responses, and you still expect him to have control over his bladder. You just got mad in those messages that he used the bathroom without asking permission. If he can't do either of those things, what is he supposed to do? It doesn't matter what he did, he is always the worst person. And the whole screws thing and the room, what I remember is like, since he did take the screws out and they were like, oh, it's dangerous, and they were lazy and didn't want to actually get him a space where he could sleep, he was sleeping in some open area. I can't remember, like maybe it was a couch in the living room or something. So in an area he had zero privacy. So he asked Shanda if he could have his own room. You know, like Paul and like G did. Like everyone in the house had their own room except for him, who had to sleep out in the open. So Shanda, being the perfect parent that she is, says, oh great, I'll give you this little closet since you're asking for a room that can close the door. So like any request he had was fulfilled, if ever fulfilled, in the worst ways imaginable. And you're wondering why he's taking screws out of the bed. You won't let him play anything. You won't let him look on YouTube videos. You won't let him have anything. You're allowed to be on your devices all the time. Make Minecraft, make YouTube videos. He was forced to stare at a wall all day, nearly every day. And then he asks, well, how many baths were they? He can't count. There were so many. So he waits for the detective to fill it in. Were there 5? Were there 10s? Oh yeah, it was only 5. Then you would have been able to remember that. There were so many, you are embarrassed to even try to come up with the accurate number. Because I don't believe he ever had a warm bath. After a while, maybe months and months ago, but once you started giving the cold baths, I don't ever think it was warm. And this all started, he said he doesn't remember how it started, but I remember, I think Shanda said on the stand, again, I'm trying to keep her out of this, but she said something like he had messed with the water heater, so everyone took cold showers for like a night or something. You know, kids make mistakes all the time, unlike Paul trying to say, oh, me cutting my sister's hair is just a kid making a mistake. A kid flipping off a switch is literally a mistake. But no, they said because we had to suffer and have cold water showers, you get a cold water bath. And she just kept that going again and again and again. And Paul did it every time. You didn't have to put all that ice in there. But then you tried to say, well, you know, the water doesn't actually get too cold. It's more lukewarm. And so that's why we put the ice in it. Because if it did get cold enough, then we only would have given him freezing cold baths, but it didn't get as cold as we wanted it, so we needed to put ice in it. And he tried to phrase it as, I told him he could wash up in there, and then, you know, halfway through or whatever, that's when the dazed look happened, because he's in a freezing cold ice bath for 9 hours when he hasn't been able to speak in days, showed you he's incontinent, and you're still going full force, not letting up whatsoever. Not even I think he's doing really bad, so I'm not actually going to keep doing the punishments my mother is telling me. Maybe I show a little bit of compassion. Maybe I take him out of the cold bath. Maybe I run some warm effing water. I don't know. Anything that proves I tried to make his life better. And then on the stand, he tried to act like, and he said, my mom said not to feed him anything, so I made him eggs. I made him this and I make him eggs.
Yes.
Did he ever eat any normal type of meal leading up to his death after you took that photo and sent it to your mother?
That day I made him an actual real meal, an actual peanut butter and jelly sandwich, as well as scrambled some eggs and put cheese in them.
Did you tell your mother you had made that meal for him?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because I didn't want her to be upset with me.
Bullshit. I believed that at the time because he was like, oh, I was scared to tell her. Oh, okay. No, absolutely not. After all the lies you've told here and what we are seeing in this presentation, you will not convince me that the person who was complicit in doing absolutely everything up until the day he died decided to make him eggs. It's the same thing as Shanda said when she said, I put him in a warm bath the night before. So he was either in the cold bath for 9 hours and then she put him in a warm bath right before he went to bed, or it never effing happened because he died from hypothermia and starvation. So I'm going to say no on the warm bath. And I'm going to say no on the eggs. Because also when you're in that state, I don't even know how much he could have eaten. How he could have eaten. You said he can't move. I do not think he would be able to move on his own without any assistance. Maybe he would because he's starving, but it would be very, very, very difficult. You would have to feed him like you force-fed him that bread.
He's sleeping in the closet.
Yes, we made sure that it was cleaned. He had a mattress in there, but then he decided to rip off the cover, like a sort of plastic cover we put on there to keep it from getting smelly and disgusting. We always wanted what's best for him. I don't know.
So you guys decide to move him into the closet. There's an alarm on the door. What's that for?
When he would try and sneak, because if you notice, there was also one in the garage door. That was also because, there's some food in there that he would try and sneak.
Right.
And it wasn't just that he was hungry at some points for those. It was that he wanted something sweet. And at times he would be taking stuff that was going to have plans for food, actual food.
Yeah, I agree. I see exactly what you're saying.
And I don't know about the whole, just bread at some points, but we did start giving him actual better food.
When we talk about the bedroom being moved into that closet, is that your idea or is that your mom's idea?
That was my mother's.
Yes. And so how long do you think he was staying in that closet for?
Couple of weeks maybe. I think we truly had started activating the alarm on the door every night after we had found that he would sneak out and get back up on into his loft bed. Where, like I said, that thing was dangerous at that point because he had been screwing around with the bolts and screws, and at any point it could have given way and he could have gotten seriously injured.
Right, yeah. So if he moves into there, there's the tarp in there, that's just to prevent. What is that for?
That was after I think we had gone to like 3 plastic covers that he had shredded.
Yeah.
Before we decided to put down the tarp. And honestly, I had expected him to complain, but he didn't, and I don't know.
So there's restriction on food. You talked about bread. For how long was he just eating just bread?
A week or 2.
What was he kind of eating before that?
We do ramen, sandwiches, and I think at some points we actually give him like a meal.
Why was it that he couldn't have meals?
The whole sneaking. I don't know.
Because he was sneaking food?
A lot, yeah. We over and over and over.
Who's
There literally where I would be sitting on the couch playing.
Yeah.
And then I look up and he's there grabbing something.
Yeah.
Because he's starving. Are you kidding me right now? You can't even answer. That pause said everything I needed to know. You have no idea why you were tormenting him other than for the sake of tormenting him. So you had to find any reason you could. He snuck food, so we're going to starve him more. As if that's not going to make someone more hungry, more desperate for anything and everything around them. But then whenever he gets a little crumb of something to try to survive, punished again. How dare you try to sneak food? We have the hottest hot sauce in hell for you to eat. Why are you not grateful enough for that? Try to say he's only been eating bread for 2 weeks, which just, Jesus Christ, 2 weeks of just eating bread is absurd. And I don't even believe that. I believe it was longer because he's been diminishing absolutely everything he has said and done here. And he wants to pat himself on the back later, being like, well, I told the truth. I did this. No, you didn't.
Then I cracked and told the full, everything.
So
that was the part that you missed.
No, you did not. You told some truths, but you did not tell the truth. Because if you told the truth, you would tell him that you were just involved with coming up with new punishments to try and test on him. And then just to say we gave him ramen and sandwiches, was there hot sauce on the ramen? Was there hot sauce on the sandwiches? Then you weren't actually feeding him. You were further torturing him under the guise of feeding him. And then at some point we gave him actual meals. Name one. You try to pull the BS with he had 3 slices of pizza last week, so are we supposed to believe that you gave him full meals at any point during this torture? Then we talk about putting alarms on the door and on the garage door. Why? Because he would sneak out of his little closet and try to crawl into a bed, because how dare he want to sleep in a bed? I don't care, and he didn't care either if it was, rickety and could have fallen over. You didn't care about his actual safety. You cared about if you would have to clean up that mess if it fell over while he was on it. And that's why you kept him in the closet. That's why you put the alarm on him and on the doors. And there's just little verbiages that give away his true feelings. He would try to sneak out every night. Well, we know that's false, but for you, it was every night. He was always sneaking food as if there's nothing. And they're like, he snuck food when it wasn't even necessary, meaning you knew it was necessary for him to eat. And you took it away from him anyway. So you can't play dumb now as if we were all doing this for his best interest because he wanted something sweet. God forbid a 15-year-old wants something sweet. Because it's not okay for him to have it. But as we heard in the February text, it's okay for you to say, well, since he's not going to have it, can I have his last Christmas cake? And then you're putting plastic wrap around the mattress and telling him to sleep on the plastic and saying, oh, he just shredded them. Maybe he wanted to sleep on the actual mattress itself. It doesn't sound like you had sheets covering it, so it was just him sleeping on plastic. And did that get better? No, because your solution to, well, he's tearing up, allegedly, these mattress covers. So what we have to do is put a tarp on the carpet to absorb every time that he uses the bathroom, because he can't leave in the middle of the night because we have the door locked and alarmed. So if he has to go, he has that tarp and that Amazon box. And you dare say we kept it clean? No. At this point, you should have put a dog bed in there, and that would have been more comfortable and more humane than what you did. Which at this point, because I'm over this, we're just going to go to the next month of messages. What month are we on? March? Okay, so let's look at the highlights of his March texts. March 4th, I thought he did clean the deck, but that's what I get for believing his stupid lies. Do I let Timothy go to bed yet? He has not only been disobedient, but hasn't stopped asking to go to bed for the past hour. He just won't listen or does something I didn't tell him he could. He just tried claiming his zip cuffs were too tight when I didn't even tighten them to where there's no room for his wrists. I already checked because I knew if they were tightened, it was his doing. I somehow forgot to activate the alarms and he woke me up at freaking 8. I told him to go stand against the wall downstairs. March 11th. He thought he was sneaky. March 17th. He keeps making excuses to get off the wall. He keeps claiming Sharma had to pee. March 19th. Timothy grabbed the food at some point, is hiding in his pocket. I don't know, chips or something small, he had it in his pocket. I made him empty his pockets. March 29th. He wanted a fidget toy he saw. He says no, he didn't take it. I'm guessing that was also March 19th. So in March, you're calling him stupid liar, you're saying he's disobedient, you're putting him in zip cuffs, and then blaming him when he says the zip cuffs are too tight, saying he did it himself. Like, are you kidding me? And I think this is going to come up in the interrogation later, so I'll stop it right there. But if he was actually afraid of his mom, if he didn't want to do any of this, that would show in these messages in some way, even if they were passive. This is active, engaged, enthusiastically involved in everything, in snitching, in punishing him further, in demeaning him, calling him dumb, calling him stupid. He has never once in any of these messages defended Timothy. Not one time. And because he woke you up at 8, you told him to go stand against the wall again because, God forbid, your sleep, your not sleep-deprived self. Well, if you are sleep-deprived, it's only because you were sleep-depriving yourself in order to keep him up. The dedication is out of this world. So when we hear this, I didn't understand, I didn't get this, we tried that, no. You fully understand every aspect of what you were doing thoroughly and wanted to make sure that it was executed the exact same way or in the most horrific way you could figure out. And even in texts like the March 4th, do I let Timothy go to bed yet? He has not only been disobedient, but also hasn't stopped asking to go to bed for the past hour. None of that was necessary. You could have just had the, do I let Timothy go to bed? But no, you had to say, he's been nothing but disobedient, and he won't stop asking. The implication of this text is, I don't want to let Timothy sleep. Please give me permission to go yell at him. Okay, but we have to move on. We have so much more to get through. I said this is a rough one. It really is. This is hard for me to get through, but I have to say what I feel like I need to say.
And so, whose idea was it for him to just eat bread? Is that your idea?
No.
Whose idea was that?
My mother's.
Tell me about the hot sauce. I know that was used as both a punishment and it was put on the bread. Was it always on the bread?
Not always, no. But the thing is, it still hardly did anything for him.
Yeah.
There would be times where it would do something for me because I'd accidentally rub my eye after I put it on there. It was ow.
Yeah.
Ow? Ow? What do you mean, ow? What? It did, the hottest hot sauce in the world did nothing to 15-year-old Timothy. But to me, it almost hurt me, not because I ate it, but because I rubbed my eye after force feeding it to my brother, and that hurt. What? Hardly did anything to him. That's because his taste buds were singed, completely gone, after how many times you made him eat that sauce. So I imagine even if he had anything more than bread, he could never taste it. At a certain point, it was impossible for him to enjoy any meal. But sometimes it would affect you. That's what I said earlier when he was distraught on the YouTube video. You know, doing all these punishments aren't just dangerous and torturous to Timothy. They are also not really dangerous, but inconvenience to the torturers. Paul's about to say that he only put like a small amount on it. And I'm like, I imagine because you got it in your eye or something and you realize, oh wow, this is horrible. So yeah, I'm going to put a small amount, which even a small amount is still torturous. I don't think people get how hot this hot sauce is. So we're going to take a little detour. Since he finally brought it up, we've been talking about it a little bit. I made a little compilation of some people tasting the hot sauce for the first time. So I want to watch this so you see how grown adults react to this hot sauce.
Right now, this is going to be awful. I have no want to eat this sauce.
Nope. This one's gonna hurt. I'm about to eat something that says it's gonna hurt.
Extreme regret? No.
So this is called extreme regret. Screaming hot.
What a glorious name.
Screaming hot. And then it doesn't have a rating.
Y'all like extreme regret?
I do. It's my favorite pastime.
Me too.
I torture myself, guys, to show you guys how life is mental. It's about being mentally tough. This is Ryback Has Heat.
Oh wait, it says your tongue will burn from the sting of the scorpion. Your eyes will tear up as
When sweat runs down your forehead, your throat begins to burn as the fire slowly goes down. The pain becomes unbearable, and you feel like you just ate a burning hot coal. That's when you have extreme regret. Not for wimpy hot sauce lovers. Use with caution, or you'll regret it.
What the fuck? Sorry. No, I don't want that.
Of what we're looking at, do you know what the scariest part of this screen is?
70%.
70% peppers.
I didn't even realize
70% of this bottle is peppers.
I didn't even realize that.
70% of the ingredients in this bottle are peppers.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize
that. Is gnarly.
Okay, I'm just gonna do it.
Yep.
Oh my god!
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Wow. Whew.
Fuck.
Oh.
Oh, it hasn't hit me yet.
Get into my stomach, let him deal with it.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's not hitting you.
I can see the light.
Oh, me, man. No.
It tastes good.
I just swallowed again. Holy crap.
It's so hot.
The top of my throat is on fire. Dude, my teeth are hot.
This is the hottest. I'm gonna say it's the hottest hot sauce I've ever had.
Oh, that's illegal. Whew. I gotta walk. I gotta walk, boys. Whew. Whew.
This is like borderline like eating a Reaper.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't even say it's borderline. It's a very similar experience.
It's very similar to eating a fresh pepper.
Yeah.
There's a lot of peppers going on in this.
And they gave that to a 15-year-old autistic boy with disabilities. So when I see stuff like this, I lose all sympathy for him. I hope they never enjoy another meal for the rest of their lives. And that is a powerful statement, but Timothy never enjoyed a meal for the rest of his life. So it is more than fair, especially since you are allowed to eat. You may not like what you are given, but you are allowed to eat it. So miss me with this ow bullshit.
Yeah. So you're putting, what dictates whether or not there's hot sauce on the eating? What decides that?
I don't know. I just, whenever my mother told me to put hot sauce on it, I did. It was normally a thin layer to make sure that it wouldn't be too much, because from what I know, the Ghost or the California Reaper is what, 2,000 Scoville or 2 million Scoville.
What does that mean?
It's the hot sauce or the heat index, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty high.
Very.
Yeah. So how long have you guys been using hot sauce for?
Almost a month, maybe.
Okay. was that only on bread, or was that on other stuff too?
I think one time we put it in some rice.
Okay.
But after that, I don't think we did that again.
What was it used for, right? Because you're giving them bread as a meal. What's the purpose of the hot sauce?
I know it was punishment, but honestly, I don't think it was that useful because, like I said, he had no feeling in his tongue. He totally bit a hole in it at one point and didn't even feel it.
Was he eating this bread with hot sauce, or was he?
Yeah.
Was that really the only things he had to eat those days, or would he get other things to eat?
From the bread and rice, other than that, not that I know of.
Okay. So for how long do you think he just ate rice and bread and hot sauce?
Maybe like 4 months, maybe. Or 1 month, sorry. I was thinking 4 weeks, and my brain was scrambled.
We totally understand. I understand what you're saying. So maybe about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Did you see a decline in him during that 4 weeks, of losing even more weight or being even less responsive, or what changed when you moved into doing that?
I think it was that there would be times where it would take him a moment to respond. At first I thought it was just him acting, but then I was getting concerned, I think a week or so maybe ago.
That his responses are delayed? Is that
yeah, and
as a matter of fact, I think you mentioned that to your mom multiple times, right? That he doesn't seem to be responding, that he can't walk very well, that he's stumbling. I think you mentioned those things.
Yeah.
What was her response to those things?
I think she was thinking, because there was one point where he did that, but it was before he was thin.
Yeah.
And it scared the crap out of me, but then he admitted to my mother later that day while I was at work that it was an act.
Okay.
So I guess she made the mistake of believing that was what it was. I know that he's done stuff like that back in Oklahoma too. He would do something that would scare the crap out of us to make us believe that something was wrong. And several times here, he faked seizures. I've seen it and I've also seen what happens because back in Oklahoma, he had seizures from medication problems.
Okay.
But yeah, I know I can tell the difference. And at one point, Gabriel had just barely walked back into Mom and Adam's room when he tried it again. Had Gabriel been there, he would have been even more terrified than he already was, because like we said, he was there for the stroke and the seizures. So.
The hot sauce. Whose idea was it to get hot sauce as punishment? Is that your idea?
I honestly don't remember that part. I don't remember whose it was. I know that before we were using the California, we were using ghost pepper sauce.
Where did these sauces come from?
I think it was either Amazon or Walmart apps.
Okay. Did you ever go to the store to buy anything?
No, we didn't ever.
Did you ever order any of those yourself? Or who was ordering the hot stuff?
My mother is, but she would ask if I could help her pay for it, which, like I said, she's been amazing. She's never demanded money.
Yeah. I guess that's exactly what she asked too.
So I knew that she wasn't just going, if I said it not that moment, she would have understood, unlike my father.
Yeah. So the hot sauce on bread, if you ever put hot sauce on bread, was it ever your own decision to put hot sauce on bread?
No.
Sometimes you were left in charge of the 2 kids, right?
Yes.
How often was that you were?
Sometimes it was during the mornings where she would go to work, but around 3-ish, I would have to go to work myself. She would be home after around 6 o'clock from work, and at that point she would ask me to have them both go to Gabriel and Timothy to go to their rooms, which for him at that point was the closet, and Gabriel's was downstairs as well. Gabriel would take his tablet because if there's one thing we both know, it's that he's also very dependent on that. It's something that keeps him calm and collected.
So when Mom's not there, is she monitoring with the cameras? Is that what the cameras in the home are for?
Yes.
And how does she communicate with you?
Text.
Text. From her phone to your phone? Or?
Yes.
Okay. And how does she communicate with the other kids?
Through the alarms, because they do have that dual way talking. But
so she can talk to them through
the
cameras.
Yes.
The alarms.
Yeah. It's cameras, not alarms. Okay. The alarms don't have. Sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. You don't have to be sorry at all. So she's able to communicate with them that way. She's communicating with you via text.
Yes, Timothy doesn't have anything to text with. He does, but I don't think, because we couldn't trust him on devices, so we couldn't exactly.
So you have her kind of monitoring everything.
I do sometimes at some points, yes. I will log into the cameras and make sure that I don't have Gabriel's app, because normally before I leave, she's upstairs in her room. He's been like that for a while. Timothy's or Gabriel's? I don't know about that one, honestly.
Do you know what app was Timothy's?
The one for his room, I think Mama had that one. I know the one in the bathroom was Blue something, BLU, and then something else.
Okay.
And another one in the downstairs area was Tekken.
Okay. So wait, there was Timothy had his own two in his room?
Yes, but that was before we moved into the closet. The Tekken was for when he was there, and it was also when he would get up and have to go to the bathroom before this whole...
Which ones do you know how to log into?
I don't think I remember the one for the Tekken, but I think the other one was my sister Millie's name, and then it was 2 numbers, I think. I don't remember.
Okay. When do you think was the last time you got logged into that camera?
The Tekken, it was...
Probably the Blue.
The Blue, I think it was maybe a couple of days ago.
So just to be like...
Normally I would, when I would get ready to head to work, I would log out of it because I could not stand. With my Apple Watch, it was connected to my phone, so whenever that got a notification of like Gabriel going to the bathroom, my watch would vibrate during work. It would be annoying.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So I wouldn't know what was normally going on during the night.
Right. So I know that when we talked yesterday in front of your mom, she was lying about some stuff, right? I know that she's a good person. I'm not doubting that at all.
Yeah, we never wanted any of this.
But you also know this, like I know, that some of the things that she was talking to us about were the truth, right? About, she said she didn't know there was a camera in the bathroom. But the fact of the matter, she asked you to put the camera in the bathroom, right? Didn't she send you a text message that says, make sure that the camera's in there and take the shower curtain down so I can see him? Didn't she ask you that the day before he passed away?
Yeah.
So we talked about some of that stuff. Remember how during the conversation I said, I know this pepper's for us for punishment. And what did she say? She said, I didn't know anything about that. Right? Why do you think she's saying those things? Why do you think
she doesn't want to appear like a bad person. She doesn't want to be the bad guy in this. We never wanted any of this. We want him to be healthy. I know that for a fact. We should have been so much. I should have at least put my foot down on something. But it's not that I'm afraid of her. I can't fear her because she's not the type to instill fear.
Boom. Y'all hear that? I can't be afraid of her. She's not the type to instill fear. So when you get on that stand and you say, I did these things because I was afraid of her, I was afraid of disappointing her, I only wanted her approval, half of that is true, but you were not afraid of her one bit, and you're proving it right now, the day after he died. I trust this version of Paul more than I trust the version of Paul on the stand, who has nothing but things to gain by people thinking Shanda was the mastermind and the only one coming up with everything. And he gives himself away here, because I'm going to say this up top and then say it throughout this full little breakdown of his self-awareness peeks through when he blame shifts from the we to the she, but we'll get there. Starting from the top. We've been using hot sauce for a month or so. I believe it was 2 months, because they went through bottles. They were buying the 3-pack bottle on Amazon that's like $30 that they were both pitching in to pay for. Also, this detective is great. I haven't even really talked about it from an interrogation perspective because I'm just so mind blown at what we're hearing in contrast to what happened. But this detective has gotten him to admit to everything. He's not getting him to tell the truth about things, but every single admission has been made. Did you do this? Yes. Did you do that? Yes. But it's okay because we fed him these meals. It doesn't matter. You just admitted to torturing him again and again and again. You were always going to prison. And then he asked, did you put it on bread or put it on anything else? I think we put it in rice once, but that was it. Odds are because it was a new form of torture for each grain of rice to be covered in that hot sauce. If he has a grain of rice stuck in his teeth or anything like that, it's going to keep burning for hours and hours and hours. But bread, you can more or less just shove that down his throat and keep moving. So they literally just tested out tortures here and there. And he was on rice and bread only for a month. Which I believe, because you can't be on just solely rice and bread the way they had him. And I'm very weary about the rice. I need to see this rice. Maybe he had rice on certain occasions, but I'm pretty sure it was a majority just bread. And he brought up, I didn't think it would be an effective punishment because he had no feeling. I mean, he bit through his tongue. They start talking about the delayed responses, how he was stumbling. When did he become concerned? He said, I became concerned about a week ago. All of this timeline stacks up so near that he's just cutting out the other 4 to 5 months where this torture was ongoing and increasing. He wants us to believe that this all just happened, that it wasn't a sustained, foregone process that led to this. And then he goes, because he lied to us in the past, and this was before he was then. Again, admitting you understand the state of his condition and how you both brought him there. And then the BS, because he admitted to my mom while I was at work that it was all an act. Like, stop. Be quiet. Stop with this. It's the same thing with the mother. Mom, is it true that you hated us growing up, that you hated your biological children that you gave birth to? And she goes, no, of course I loved you all. Okay, great, I'll live with you. Well, he told me it was all an act. Oh, he did? Okay, great. No, he knows the truth to all of these questions. And this is how you know he's aware, because he's like, I guess we made the mistake. Oh, wait, she made the mistake.
So, I guess we made the mistake, she made the mistake of believing that that was what it was. I don't...
No, it was definitely we, which goes into he did something to make us scared, which he faked several seizures in the past, but I can tell. I know when he's faking, you know, the medical doctor, Paul Ferguson. And did you ever think that even if he did fake them, I don't really think he did, given all of the issues he had to deal with and the living environments that he was in, maybe he thought, hopefully someone will care when I'm actually in distress. And no, you blamed him more. Oh, you're faking it because you actually came to or whatever. I don't know. And then he let his real emotions slip again. He said when right after Adam's thing and he was in his room and we walked in and he tried it again and G could have seen it.
I just barely walked back into the parents, into Mom and Adam's room. mine from this room when he tried it again. Had he been there, he would have been even more terrified than he already was, because like we said, he was there for the stroke and the seizures, so...
He was there for the stroke, and he would have seen that, and it would have made him distraught. I'm like, y'all don't care how the stroke or anything affected Timothy whatsoever. Did you ever think that put a lot of stress on him and actually physically affected him? No, but I can guarantee every time he, quote unquote, under Paul's judgment, was faking his seizures, that they punished him 10 times as hard. Which brings me to my next point. Paul looks at this camera often. He is aware where the camera is, and he makes eye contact. He jolts his eyes there when things get weird, and then he brings it back, which means we aren't talking to Paul Ferguson. We are talking to the Paul Ferguson from that YouTube video who said, "Sorry guys, hey Timbo."
Hey Timbo, could you... Sorry guys. Jeez. Not sure if y'all heard that. That was one of my little brothers. I deeply apologize. I probably should have asked them politely to keep it down before I came up here, so...
Keep it quiet. I should have told them politely. You know what, Vacuum, take it away. You hear that? She said, Paul Ferguson, you're full of it. But anyway, whose idea was it to buy the hot sauce? There was a long ass pause there. He's really quick to answer if it was his mother's idea. Anytime he's involved, there's this long pause. I'm not sure. If you're not sure, that means odds are it was you or both of you. Because he said they originally started with the ghost pepper or something like that. I think that was Paul's suggestion. And when that didn't work, I think Shanda said she was just going to amp it up to the hottest shit she can find. Which is also reinforced by the fact that they both paid for these bottles. That is wild. Y'all are paying money to get this stuff shipped there. The intentionality is out of this roof. You can't say that this was not meant to happen. It was strategic. It was planned. You waited for the delivery. Then we get to the go to your rooms part, where he said, when I was in charge of them, I get to tell them to go to their rooms. While Timothy went to a closet, Timothy got to see G go to his actual room. So just imagine the non-stop mental confusion that someone must be under when they are treated like they are the worst human alive and everyone around them is treated nicely. But then he brings up G is also dependent on his devices, but that's okay because his iPad keeps him calm and collected and centered or whatever. But when Timothy does it, it's because he's evil and not doing his schoolwork. It's just what the contradiction, but he noticed that contradiction as he was saying it, and he does this big physical readjustment because he knows he can't land the plane that makes that make sense. He can have an addiction to his devices, and it's great. You can have an addiction to your devices, and at worst you put them down for 15 minutes or a night. Timothy touches a device, Satan himself should know better. How dare he? And then we get to the cameras. Oh my gosh. Not only was she using Paul to monitor everyone, she had cameras all throughout that house. Everyone's room, Timothy's room, well, not everyone's room, but Timothy's room, G's room, her room, the house, the bathroom. And the bathroom camera is the most insidious one because it was a motion tracking camera. So in that bathroom, which is where he spent most of his tortures, the camera would follow him. So she could see him in the bathtub. She can see him when he's shoving hot sauce down his throat. And she's this all-seeing eye. That originally, I believe that all-seeing eye is what drove Paul to do the things that he did, because he knew that if he let up at any moment, he was still being watched and was still going to be told to do things. Nope, not at all. Some of that played in at some parts, but he was a willing and enthusiastic participant in all of this. But they're both getting notifications. They get texts anytime these cameras go off. You can talk through the cameras. That's what I said earlier in the video with Paul, of like the fact that Shanda is texting Paul at the same time that Timothy is being vocal. Odds are she was talking to him through that camera, in my belief. Like, that's just horrifying to have to live with, especially since they're such a religious family as well. Shanda Vander Ark went to Liberty University. I'm not going to say anything about it. I could say a lot. I won't. What I will say is Letitia also went there, but that's just a fact. Moving on. Paul sometimes monitored these cameras, logged in to watch them. However, we need to underscore, underline, circle, circle, circle. He does not have the code to G's apps or the password to G's camera. Multiple apps. He is not allowed to monitor G at all. Why? Red flags everywhere for me. Intentional reasons for me. Because they got on the stand and said that they put a camera in G's room because he would undress and then run around in his room. Which I'm like, okay, who cares? He's a freaking kid. Is he doing it throughout the house? No. But because he's doing it in his room, you need to watch nonstop? No. And this is just an awareness from both of them. Shanda knows exactly what Paul is capable of and keeps him on a tight leash. He can monitor Timothy, and it's no problem. He can know every single whereabouts of Timothy, not an issue. G, Shanda says no. I'm protecting at least one of my children. And I don't even know if she saw him as her child. She saw him as what they're saying, a miracle child, the second coming. I mean, he's named after an archangel. I'm not going to say the name because we don't need to, but from moment one, he was on a pedestal, and from moment zero, Timothy was nothing to her. Truly, she's most upset because she lost her parental rights because of Timothy, or would have because of. So I think she used this to get her jabs back as well. Oh, you think I'm not allowed to take care of you? You think Paul's not allowed to take care of you? Let's show the world exactly why they wanted us as far away from you as possible. Then he says he gets notifications on his Apple Watch when G goes to the bathroom and that it's annoying at work. I think that's saying something, right? That you are so fiercely monitoring everyone in the house. You and Shanda, your co-collaborator, has to make sure everything in your dungeon stays exactly where you need it to be. And if it moves, you need to know why and where. Yeah, that gets annoying when you're not in the dungeon itself. Which then contradicts when he says, I don't know what happens at night because I go to work and da-da-da-da-da, and Shanda takes over. Which just means they changed shifts. Timothy never had a reprieve whatsoever. As soon as one torturer leaves, the other one shows up to be just as vicious because they've been waiting. She's been at work all day. Her anger has been growing more and more and more, and she just lets it out on him every day. Then that repeated line, never wanted any of this. We never wanted any of this. I'm sure you didn't. You never wanted to get caught. 2 days ago, you had no issue doing exactly what you were doing. None. And you would have kept going further and further and further. However, because he actually died, because that's what happens, people found out, and now you're sitting in a police station. Now we never wanted any of this. Not a single solitary soul, human being, or otherworldly influence forced you to do what you did. So you wanted this. So enjoy it. You wanted this every single day, so you can enjoy it for those 30 to 100 years. And Shanda can enjoy it for her 50 to 100 years. I hope it was worth it. I hope you got all the fun you could out of it, because now those memories will haunt you for the rest of your days. And they should. Then we get into the mom's lies, finally. She knew she was lying because she had planned for both of them to lie about this. And they were coming up with the lies while the police were en route to come there. How do we know? Because, Shanda likes to record absolutely everything, meaning they recorded themselves finding Timothy dead. And the 18 minutes before they called the police were recorded, where they unsuccessfully, thank God, could not resuscitate him because he was free and long past by them. But they're freaking out and they're trying to get their story straight. And so nothing but lies overflowed from both of them that day. But Paul was the smart one. He didn't go with every single lie that she told him to say. She told him that they're going to have to tell them that he was on a hunger strike and that they just have to lie about it.
You have to tell them he's been on a hunger strike. What do you need?
Then when the police ask him, hey, did you know your brother was on a hunger strike? He says, oh, I'm not sure. And Shanda goes and like, oh, did I tell you or not? And he's like, I don't think you did.
Did you know that he was in this hunger strike?
I think I mean, did I tell you or not? I don't know if I did or not.
I don't think you did. Because he's skin and bone.
I know, and I just, how did he?
He's really.
Well, he doesn't communicate with him hardly at all. Like, they say hi and they don't, yeah, he's.
Are you guys full brothers or half brothers?
They're full. The only half is the one that's in there.
Okay.
We are full.
Why? Because he's smarter than he ever is going to let on. And he knows that that was the dumbest lie you could probably come up with when you have an emaciated child found in a closet. Also, miracle child, again, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's giving cult behavior. It's giving they literally worshipped that boy. But she lied about the cameras, said, I didn't know where to go. They read the text. I love that the officer keeps reinforcing, now we read the text, so this, now we read the text, so that, because he's trying to get him to truly understand you have to know what we think you truly are. He's being amazing in trying to be empathetic and rationalize with Paul and trying to justify his worldview in this moment in this room, but he's also tearing it down again and again every time he says, we read the messages, so we're refocusing, trying to keep you laser focused that these lies will not work. So to reinforce that, we're going to go through every one of your mom's lies and showing you how it is useless to lie to us when there are thousands of text messages that disprove the bullshit you're trying to shoot now. Text messages showing that she wanted him to take the shower curtain down so that she can watch him, because it's not enough for him to just be tortured. They have to see every single solitary moment. Because then what's the point if you can't enjoy it? They saw the hot sauce in the bathroom. She said, I had no idea about the hot sauce. It was supposed to be used for food. And I brought it up earlier, but all of this is consciousness of guilt. When you take intentional actions, intentional steps, tell intentional lies in order to deceive the police. She said she didn't know anything about the hot sauce because she knows exactly what she did with the hot sauce. She said she didn't know anything about the cameras because she knows exactly what she did with the cameras. And then Paul has to say she doesn't want to appear as the bad person. What he's really saying is, I don't want to appear as the bad person either. That's why I'm putting she to let you know that we are just judging her right now and her actions. And primarily we are. I know for a fact we wanted him healthy. BS, just another lie. It's impossible for you to say you wanted him to be healthy. No, we're not even going to go down that road. We all know why. I should have at least put my foot down or something. Yes, you should have. You could have done anything. But you sat there every day, acted like nothing was wrong, only tried to hide more and more and more, make sure no other human alive besides G could see Timothy. I feel so bad for that boy. I can't imagine. He will need therapy for the rest of his life to try to unpack what he lived through. And the thing is, we know he did put his foot down on some things. I know they're going to bring it up later, so I won't reveal it now. But there are horrible things that she asked him to do to him, and he said no, without an issue. And then her next text was like, okay, whatever, I just said da-da-da, but drop the attitude with me. So he could have done that anytime. He could have told her no anytime. And he did when he thought she was going too far. You see, they both had each other on a leash at the end of the day. And he was able to influence her way more than he's ever going to let on. And honestly, as I'm talking about this, it's reminding me of spouseification. And normally what people talk about is parentification of children, where a child is forced to grow up too early because of their parental situation and they actually have to become the parents. taking care of anyone else in the house and or their parents because they won't do it themselves. So a lot of people have to grow up really quickly because of it. There's also spouseification. Normally this happens in single parent households where their child emotionally fulfills the responsibility of a spouse. And it doesn't have to be a sexual thing whatsoever. It is just the emotional weight that the parent puts on the child and boasts them to this kind of equality to where they both have to regulate each other. So they're very similar concepts. Parentification is treating the child as a parent. Spouseification is treating the child as if they were a spouse. And they made decisions together, they did everything together, they monitored each other together, and they both answered to each other. He was just willing to be more submissive because he always wanted mother's love, and he convinced himself that this was a way to get it. Which is why, to tie this in a bow, he could fear her, he could never fear her. She's not the type to instill fear. To you, yeah. But I don't even believe that. I believe you were afraid of her multiple times, and I believe she was afraid of you multiple times. This whole situation, the more I look into it, is just infinitely more complex and disturbing every time I take another glance at it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's also what caused him to sometimes lie about things as well, was that he still had this fear of Dad, and then he thought she would be the same.
Yeah. That could very well be the case.
She's nothing like him. That much I know. She's like...
But she knows that you shouldn't be using hot sauce as a punishment, right? She knows better than that. And you know better than that too, right? Yeah. I think that anybody with some common sense knows that hot sauce is not something used to punish a child for eating food that they're not supposed to eat, or for disrespect, or for not following orders. We know those things aren't okay.
I know that. We've tried so many different things. We just were running out of options of trying to find a punishment that would actually work. And even that did nothing.
Right.
And we still kept trying, though. I don't know why.
I think you know exactly why. Or else you wouldn't be over here looking at the camera being like, I don't know why we kept going. We were running out of options because even then that hot sauce did nothing to him. We were running out of options. We were trying to find a punishment that would actually work. Like, that just shows the mental mind warp that he lived in. And it's not even that he was manipulated in there. It is that they had the goal to find a punishment that quote unquote worked. Who defines what it means to work? Those two monsters. To work means to feel the pain fully, to express agony infinitum until they are satisfied. And if he didn't do that, then that means the punishment didn't work and we have to crank it up more. That's crazy to say that. But the detective got another confession. You know you can't punish a child this way. Anyone with common sense would know that. Quote, I know that, but we were just running out of options. There's a million options. Look on a blog post somewhere. Like, Jesus Christ, looking for a punch. First of all, you two shouldn't be punishing anyone but yourselves, especially when you're trying to talk about someone else's behavior. And it's this idea of running out of options as though this was time sensitive, as though there was a timeline in which they had to get him to do whatever they wanted. I don't know. This makes no sense whatsoever. And he knows it. How do we know? Because he is saying the day after he died, I know that, but we were running out of options.
So you got the hot sauce. Tell me about the handcuffs. I know that, once again, she took no blame for that, right? And who did she put it all on? She put it all on you. She said that was your idea and that those were yours and that you did those things. But I think that's not the truth from what I read on here. What's the real truth on that?
We would have him against the wall at some points, and he would try to move. And at one point, we'd actually put motion sensors on him to stop that. But
on him himself?
Yeah, like they were vibrator. They would sense any sort of vibrations. Yeah. But the thing is that he's learned to trick them by moving so slow, or they'd be on his door and it'd be moving so slow that it wouldn't set it off. So you get away with stuff.
Okay.
So
So you're saying standing still, was that like a punishment that he was forced to stand
On the
still?
wall, yeah. Against the wall, he was having.
Was that regular that he had to do that? Like how often was he having to stand against the wall?
Since 2 weeks ago, it wasn't very often.
Okay. Just because he couldn't physically stand against the wall anymore?
No, it was that. I guess that it just didn't work because if he wouldn't set it off when he was against the wall, he would then, like, it'd be on a belt around him. He'd stuff it in his pocket and then just sit down on the ground or lay down and stay like that.
So he was punished by trying to make him stand, but then he would lay down. Did you guys ever wake him up on purpose because he wasn't supposed to be sleeping?
Yeah, and we also know one thing about him was that if he slept during the day, he was going to be up all night.
Okay. So you wouldn't let him sleep during the day, essentially?
If he wanted maybe an hour long or 2 hour nap, we would. But anything longer, we knew that it would start screwing with his actual sleeping.
So who's monitoring this all the time? Like who's making sure he's not sleeping during the day? Who's making sure he stands against the wall?
When my mother was at work, she'd have me log in before she'd leave. I'd come upstairs and go back to sleep on the couch. I'd set an alarm normally for 10:30 to 11:30 so that I could wake up and be up to keep things going around the house, keep everything in order.
Okay.
So she never did any of this to be harsh.
I'm in no way questioning whether you're not cared or any of those things. I'm not. But the reality is we just have to talk about how we got to this point and how these decisions were made. So I don't want you to think that.
We also did stop the leg cuffs, I think, a while ago because we noticed that his ankles were swelling. So we stopped that because we didn't want his legs to become irreparable.
How often were you guys putting leg cuffs on him before that? Was that something like at night to stop him from moving around, or what was it for?
I think we did it once or so. Once, maybe twice at night. One time. I don't know. I'm so lost. I just don't know what to do.
What about handcuffs or zip ties? What did you guys use those for?
The zip ties were either to fasten the vibrational arms to his belt during the day.
Yeah.
Or to put it on his wrist, not too tight and I would make sure, after the first time we did it, I would make sure to cut off the end of the zip ties because I had them loose. And then he decided to tighten them to where they were nearly cutting off circulation.
Yeah.
So after that point, I myself, when I was told to put him into the zip ties, I'd grab a pair of scissors and snip off the ends to make sure that he couldn't tighten it to where it was cutting anything off.
Were you guys ever zip tying his hands together?
His hands? I think we did once when we had a pair of them that could, the zip cuffs. But again, I'd cut those off to make sure that he wouldn't tighten them, because...
What was that for? Why would you use those on him?
Normally we have him do this. It was something that I'm not sure if it was my father or my mother back when they were together, but when we were put in timeout, we'd be told to do this. And so sometimes, though, he'd try and do stuff like this, or just try and put his hands down by his sides. So we do that to keep him.
Okay. Yeah. How long do you think that goes on for?
I think the zip ties, cuffs, probably when we had first used them, it was when I would leave, when I would get ready to leave for work, I'd put them on, do the whole snipping, and then when Mama would get home, she'd grab the scissors and cut them off immediately.
Yeah. How long are we talking? Is this for a couple hours, 8 hours, 10 hours?
Normally the maximum was 3.
Okay.
Because when I worked normally at that point, I think I was only working evening and closing shifts. Yeah. It would be 4:30 or 4 o'clock that I'd need to be there, so in order to get there, I would have to leave an hour before to actually make it on time.
Right.
But, and we put the vibration alarms on there, but then, again, we stopped that after the zip ties, because with the chains, or the chain parts of the cuffs, I think they would rattle to where if you tried to move, it would still set them off, even with the whole slowness. Yeah.
Good grief. Doing these like bigger chunks, I don't even know why I'm saying these are bigger chunks, but not breaking down every sentence is very hard, because oh my gosh, that was just like 5 or 6 minutes and so much is packed in there. It's insane. Every single thing that comes out of his mouth is a new horror that he is saying so casually, like it's nothing. Also, let's bring attention to the fact that he's never once cried over Timothy's death. Not before he was arrested, not in this interview. My thing is, if your brother died the way he died, and you didn't expect, nor you didn't want this to happen, nor you didn't foresee this future, most people would be torn up, distraught in some kind of way. Shanda tried to fake wail, and that didn't work. Paul's not even trying to fake it. He's just chilling. He's just whoop, boop, ba doop, ba doop. I have no idea why this happened. Linda knows why this happened, because y'all are sick. So backing it up, Shanda said that the cuffs were Paul's idea because he was going to use it in some video. I thought, I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering. I thought she said something about a TikTok, but it was probably for one of his YouTube. Actually, what am I saying? Sorry about that. The cuffs were never for a video, but I think that's what her excuse was trying to be. He was trying to use it for a video, which we now know to be YouTube videos, which I had thought at the time was TikTok videos. Okay, I explained my logic. Moving on. So they're both passing blame on each other, back and forth like it's nothing. Because it makes no sense for anyone to have handcuffs. Hey, raise your hand if you have handcuffs in your living space and it's not a part of your profession or your side duties. What? Anyway, no, people don't just have handcuffs lying around, especially not for videos randomly. Then trying to redirect, well, we put, motion sensors onto him, vibration sensors, so that anytime he would move a muscle, the alarm would sound. But don't think that's too horrible, detective, because he actually learned that if he moved slow enough, he could, quote, trick the sensors, as if he's tricking, oh my gosh, as if he's tricking the sensors when he's being alarmed. That's wild, because that's how they saw it. They saw his ability to try and lie down after being strapped to alarms, being forced to look at a wall for hours on end, and he's tricking them because he would do that and he would get away with stuff. Stuff is nebulous. Stuff can be trying to go to the bathroom. Stuff can be trying to get something to eat to survive. But he was trying to get away with it, so they were running out of options and had to crank it up even more. And he takes a major sidestep with this answer of, so how long have you been using the handcuffs on him? Well, since 2 weeks ago, it hasn't been very often. What? Since 2 weeks ago? And that's why the detective says, is it because he just couldn't stand anymore? The answer is yes. They had to tailor different punishments because he could not physically withstand or endure the punishment tortures that they were putting him through. And I'm sure they blamed him for that and thought that he was lying and this and that, because up until a day ago, they thought he was lying about it. And so the detective says the rational thing, is it because he couldn't stand? And then Paul goes, no, it's because it didn't work. We have been putting him in cuffs for months. And 2 weeks ago, we said, well, that's not working, so we have to crank it up even more. If he didn't set it off, he would try to put it in his pocket so he can lay down. And once he's saying it out loud, he realizes how absurd it is. So he even wipes his face
in his pocket and then just sit down on the ground or lay down and stay like that.
So he was punished by trying.
being like, and I took that wiping your face in distress, putting it together of, I just said that I'm saying my little brother was tricking us because he was trying to lay down after standing against the wall for 3 hours at a time. Detective asks, did you ever wake him up while he was asleep? Of course he knows the answer because he's read the text and knows that sleep deprivation was one of the many tortures that they inflicted. So of course they woke him up while he was sleeping. Paul wants to say, well, if he slept during the day, he was going to be up all night. Nope, he was going to be up all night because y'all said he would. Because you planned it. You both took shifts keeping him up. But yet again, it's his fault. Because they refuse to allow him to have a sleeping schedule, whenever he is allowed to get sleep, they're mad because they completely threw off his circadian rhythm. Not that he probably had one at this point. He was just lucky to be able to sleep anytime he could. And the detective, again, great job holding it all in, but he's just like, so who's monitoring all this? He was kind of hoping probably to hear that it's all Shanda. Nope, it was both. She would have me log in when she's at work, this and that. Then has the nerve to say, she never did any of this to be harsh. Yeah, she did it to be cruel, evil, malicious, and sadistic. And want to try to get brownie points. We stopped the leg cuffs. Once we saw that his ankles were getting swollen, we didn't want them to become irreparable. So don't worry, detective, we stopped the leg cuffs. Still had the handcuffs, still had the zip cuffs. The detective asked, how often did you do this? Did you have him do it all night? So Paul hones in on that last part. I think only once or twice we did it at night. And then tries to go down to maybe once. Again, major sidestep. That wasn't the question. The question was, how many times have you done this? And then he's like, did you do it all night? And that's what you jump on because it makes you sound way less horrible than saying we did it practically every day until he couldn't stand it. Literally. And he's getting overwhelmed, so he goes, I'm so lost, I don't know what to do. Well, you knew what to do all the other times. Well, actually, you didn't know what to do. All these text messages keep saying, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. Well, here's an idea. How about we crank it up even more, get even more risky and dangerous? The zip ties is just bananas. Like, they tested everything on him. They tested every little thing they could. They are buying these things. I know Amazon workers were turning their heads. Why does she have the hottest hot sauce in the world? Handcuffs, zip cuffs, leg cuffs, motion sensor alarms, cameras everywhere. It sounds like she's making a dungeon. But don't worry, detective. We put them around his wrist, but we didn't want he would actually tighten them. But again, putting the responsibility on him. They put him in the zip cuffs, which I imagine as a 15-year-old boy, you've never been put in zip cuffs before. I imagine you also don't want to be in zip cuffs, so you would try to take them off. And in that attempt, he's accidentally tightening them more. And what do? They say, how dare he do that? So I'm going to cut them off at the ends. That is horrifying to imagine. Just being like, nope, I got the solution. We're not going to try something else. I'm just going to cut them off myself. Another horrible admission. This is the reason he didn't go to trial. He was 100% going to lose. He knew that. He's smarter than Shanda when it comes to just common sense and what is actually going to happen, and realized there's no way I'm getting away with this. So I'm going to turn on her, beg for mercy, and it's going to work out for me. Especially if I said I had all the disabilities my brother had. So then it's, why would you use them? Well, because we had him put his arms behind his head, but he would sometimes put his arms down. I'm like, that is literally a stress position. Are you kidding me? This is prisoner of war type shit. You're literally saying for 3 hours, you're supposed to hold your hands behind your head, staring at a wall. And if you put your hands down, we have to put handcuffs on you. And then he's like, so what was the max? And I've said it before, but they said normally it was a 3-hour max. I'm not asking about normally. I'm asking about what happened up until the day he died. Because normally could have been months back. You put them on before you go to work, and when she got home, she immediately got the scissors and cut them off. Anyone believe that? Anyone think Shanda gets home and says, "Hello, my darling angel child G. Hello, Satan. Let me race to the kitchen to find the scissors and then cut you out of those things because I know how dangerous they could be. So dangerous that I had you in them for hours on end, waiting until I got home." And then he says, "But we stopped using the vibration alarms." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness. Maybe you came to your senses even a little bit. Why would you do that?" "Oh, because the chains from the handcuffs would activate the alarms. So that bothered us." And I'm sure they blamed him for it for multiple times of "you're doing this on purpose," until they were dumb enough to finally figure out, oh, the chains rattling themselves will set it off on its own. Okay, so then we can take the sensors off, because if we have to choose between the motion sensors and the cuffs, we're going to keep the cuffs. Absolutely ludicrous. All right, I think it's time to take another detour and get to another month of these text messages. Let's see what happened in April. April 2nd. Okay, what's up with the stupid alarm? The triple beep, no double, then single. Yes, trying to shut it up. I'm guessing these are in reference to said vibration alarms they have on him, and now they won't stop because they don't know what they're doing. I'm gonna scream. There, I tried making them ring, then activated them. Kill me now. I don't know, I just want it to stop. He denies it, I don't buy it. About a bag of candy Shanda was looking for. Timothy probably took it. April 4th. It may be under his mattress. How did he even get upstairs? I reactivated the alarm. Checked his pockets. I was off my devices. He's spouting crap. He's literally spouting crap. Shanda asks if he remembered the salt water. Yes. Jesus Christ. April 14th. If he stops many more, let me handle him, please. Begging to be let off the leash. Wall sits? We could do it chasing style. That's in reference to them having him run stairs up and down, and he would chase him up and down the stairs until he basically couldn't move. April 18th. He really can't do anything right. Can we just send him to juvie already? I wish you had. It's so obvious that he's not going to stop. He's just going to keep going, so why not just get rid of the problem? Wait, I'm not saying I doubt you. I doubt him changing. I don't think it's possible. He's too stuck in the past, and obviously he's not going to move on. That's that weird thing he said earlier from the beginning of this. He's stuck in the past. Yeah, stuck in the past abuse that y'all left on him and the scars that y'all left him with years ago. And so you're reopening those wounds and going even further and further. I don't understand that phrasing ever. He's stuck in the past. What do you mean? I know you're trying to correct him. Him doing this is not on you. He doesn't care about his actions, mama. He doesn't care. Y'all don't give an F about your actions, as evident by everything, even to this day. Y'all do not care about your actions. You care people found out. You care people see you as monsters, but you didn't care at that time. He thinks he can keep doing the same thing, and he's not going to go to jail. That's the thing, because we were threatening to do it, and we haven't done it, so he thinks he can keep going. What does that mean? You're threatening to send him to jail? What on earth could an autistic 15-year-old boy be doing to where you would be able to call the police? They come in, see his emaciated body, and take him to jail, and not you two. Wow, they lived in such a deluded world, and her going through law school, working at a courthouse, probably threatened every kind of thing imaginable. Well, do you know what I could have you arrested for? Do you know how many laws you broke? What? You gonna arrest him for sneaking food? For putting his hands down and setting off the alarms? I bet he prayed for you to call the police on him. At least if he was taken out of there and went to jail, he'd be alive. I know how his mind works. So that's why the freezer lock was not sticking as well. He tore it off, that little piece of, nope, I'm done. I'm just saying, if he tries anything else with me, I'm not going to be happy. I'm already am in, but now it's just starting to, I can't find the right words for it. Yeah, because he's enraged. He wants to beat the shit out of him and is begging his mom to let him. No, Mama, he tore the lock apart off the freezer and then tried to stick it back on, but it's just not as sticky anymore. I was wondering what happened. He didn't touch the keys because he just ripped it off. Because he's starving, dumbass. How desperate do you think someone has to get to rip a lock off of a freezer to get any kind of frozen food, not even fresh food? I honestly should have realized something was wrong when the lock wasn't as sticky anymore. April 19th. Wow, all of that was April 18th? Goodness. No, he hasn't handed it over. Missing key to the freezer. Because he, quote, doesn't know where it is. So much is done with this run. I'm going to have him look really hard. He's coming up with a bunch of crap that he just snuck in and didn't grab the keys. He's now claiming he put them back, which is, in my opinion, baloney. His legs were literally jelly by the time I left him from doing wall sits, and yet he still never admitted and told me where the keys are. April 20th. Timothy must really like running the stairs because he keeps asking when he's going to again. And Timothy also walked Sharma without my permission. God forbid he walks the dog. He probably wants to go outside and run stairs because it's the first time he's seeing fresh air. Even though he's being punished, he's at least outside. He was never allowed to go anywhere. For 6 months, he never traveled anywhere. Day and night in that dungeon, or outside taking out trash or walking the dogs sometimes. Going to the store? No. Going to the doctor's? No. Going to the park? No. Going to any of these games that they were always at? No. Because sometimes they would go to support G in whatever sports he was doing. Could Timothy go? No. Why? Because everyone would stare and probably just steal him from you. I would hope someone would just grab the boy and run. Because, wow. I had him do 20 runs this time. Not much changed. See, this is this repetitive, it didn't work. That did hardly anything. We gave him the hottest hot sauce, stress positions, cuffs. It did nothing. What on earth do you want to happen? That's one thing they never define. They never define what they truly want from him. I mean, in these other messages, he's literally interrogating him. I keep asking him and he's not giving it. Now he's in an interrogation being confronted with his horrible actions and he's completely crumbling. I'm so lost, I don't know what to do. If it was Timothy who said that he was so lost and he didn't know what to do, you would have punished him further. And you did. Multiple times. Sorry, he's talking and I'm trying to get him to just shut up. April 22nd. He was driving me crazy, non-stop setting off the alarm. That was on him, so now he's cleaning the living room. I'm watching. I threatened him with wall sits, but he was okay with that instead of standing. Because he couldn't stand. April 23rd. Just let me know when to do his final couple of runs, having him do the stairs again and again and again. He's only stopped once or twice, but that was because he was trying to get poop off his shoe because he stepped on it. That whole place seemed like a disgusting mess. April 26th. It is. Food locked up. He just pulled the pantry door lock. The part that attaches to the wall is dangling right now due to sticky loss. Okay, for one, I'd set an alarm for 11:30, so there's no way that that was on me because I activated his alarm, so I don't know how the heck he got out. April 27th. Timothy said he ate about 3/4 of the cheese. April 28th. I literally keep getting close to falling asleep, and then he sets it off, Timothy's body alarm, and it's driving me insane. I just want to sleep. So did he. You think, I keep getting near the edge of slumber, and then, boom, maybe take the alarms off. Oh my goodness, how is it his fault that the alarms go off and wake you up? You put them on him. He didn't put them on himself. I took my night meds though, so I'm not going to be able to stay awake much longer. Except his idiotic butt. Can't we just knock him out so he's asleep but sore? He wanted at him any time for any infraction or annoyance whatsoever. You woke me up, you kept me up. I want to knock you out and make sure that you're asleep but sore. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really fed up with him. I just want to sleep. See, now she had to pull the leash on him. April 29th. Okay, I'm not making him run the stairs right now because he not only chose to eat your burger while I was refilling Sharma's food, but won't stop asking to and to clean when I didn't say. So yeah, I'm not having him move till you get home. I don't have the patience to hawk watch him. Good grief, so he is begging, saying, please, give me this punishment. I'll go outstairs. I'll start cleaning. He's trying to do anything he thinks will make you treat him better, be happy with him, or anything positive. And even that, how dare he? He's doing something I'm not telling him to do. So now, I'm not letting him move a muscle until you get home, and then you can take care of him. He just ate the crust. I'm sorry, I'm not dealing with this BS. I want to, but he's making it hard. It's hard, dang it. And that was April. Just again and again beating down on him, tattling, asking if he could go further, more punishment. I made him run up and down. And then if he wants to take the punishment, no, that means it's not working. So we have to change it up so he does only things he doesn't want to do and only does what we say when we say it. So I want you to keep that same energy in this interrogation. Remember, you would berate him nonstop if he didn't answer your questions truthfully, so you need to answer his questions truthfully. And if you don't, you need to get punished. You need that 30 to 100 years. Every time I go even a little further into this, I lose even more sympathy. You got the exact sentence you deserved. And even then, it was a mercy. You have a chance to get out one day. Should you? Doubtful. Will you? Who knows? Based off of your behavior, who knows? If the real you comes back out while you're in there, you might stay in there for that full 100.
Tell me about the night before. I know that you said you got from that too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of what really happened that night, because I know that
I did take my meds. He was in his room. I didn't think to check. I should have though. I should have seen, made sure he was at least okay. That he was breathing. He could have been gone by the time I'd already gotten home.
Right. So when you first talked to us and you talked to the police, you said he was on his bunk bed, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the truth.
No.
Okay. He was in that closet that's right there by the bunk bed?
Yeah.
Okay. And then your mom had texted you that earlier in the night, or how did you know that he was in there?
I guess at that point it was just something I would already know, because I have a slight problem. It's not like a problem, just a small sort of OCD with the light switches.
Okay.
So I go upstairs and I take my meds, and normally the light switches by the back door, I want them down, and then when I come over to the stairs, normally when I flip it down, the light in the dining room would turn on. So I'd go to the stairs and flip it to turn the light on for the stairs, and the ones in the dining room down, off. Go downstairs and then flip that switch to get the stairs off, and then the one in there would turn on, and that was how I would know he wasn't in the bed. And then go and turn the ones off at the start of the hall, and then turn off the light with the switch by my bedroom.
So you know he's not in the bed?
Yes.
So you told us that you heard him snoring. Was that a lie?
Yeah.
And did you come up with that on your own, or did somebody ask you to say that he was in the bed? It's okay.
I don't know.
It's okay.
I feel so guilty. Like I could have done something at any point in this.
But you're not. Yours is perfect. You have a mother that's telling you what to do. And so, I understand why you feel the way that you do, but at the same time, you have to look at
You think that your mother's telling you to do what's best for him, right? That's what you've been telling me.
Yeah. And I know she wants what's best for all of us.
So, that's my question. Did somebody ask you to say that he was in the bunk bed?
I came up with that on my own because I didn't want
You came up with that on your own?
Yeah, because...
So tell me what really happened in the morning then, because obviously what was told to us wasn't the truth. What really happened? When you guys, somebody found him, or...
I woke up and I had been grabbing my shoes, and it was at that point that it basically all played out like we said. The whole morning thing was exact. He wasn't breathing in the closet. It was the closet, though. We had to get him out of the closet to try and resuscitate.
So it's you and your mother were trying to get him out of the closet?
We did get him out. And we tried to resuscitate.
Who noticed him first? You or
my mother?
Okay. Did she ask you via text to check on him on the way up? That's not what happened. She said, "Hey, can you check on him on your way upstairs?" Do you remember that text message at all?
No.
Okay.
There might have been one that I didn't see, but...
Okay. So you guys pull him out of the closet.
And we tried to resuscitate him. We gave him rescue breaths. His breath smelled horrible. I thought maybe he might have still been capable of being resuscitated because his mouth was still wet.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it had just been recent, so we could do something.
When you were at work, right, you came home at about 2. Does that sound right, or is that...
Yeah, that was true because... Okay. What was it? It was the day after the 4th of July or so? What's today's date?
Yeah, today's the 7th.
The 7th. Yeah, it was on my list, so...
Well, it's the 5th when you were at work, and then you come home in the morning of.
Yes, and... Yeah, some of the servers there were still people in the lobby, and we had to finish that off. I'm the general utility, so I have to break down the machine, clean the outside, clean the floors.
Gotcha. So, when you guys pull him out of the closet, does he have clothes on at that point, or is he in a diaper, or what's that state?
He had a shirt. I think we had put him in pants, or sweatpants, but I don't know, maybe some point in the night he took them off. I don't know about that.
When you say we, you weren't there though when we went to bed, right?
No.
So how would you know if we put him in sweatpants? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So do you know if he had pants on or not when we went
No,
to bed?
honestly. But he didn't have them when we got him out. He had the diaper on, at least.
So he has the diaper on. You're saying that he has a shirt on? What shirt did he have on?
The very same sweatshirt that we found him in. Because obviously we didn't want him to get cold. Or I don't think Mama wanted him to get cold. I'm pretty sure she texted me about that. I'm not sure.
Okay. So you guys pull him out. Does he have pants on or no pants on?
No.
And when we get there, he has pants on?
Yeah, she had me put them on.
She asked you to put pants on?
Yeah.
What was that for?
I don't know. I just...
And so you guys, at that time, she decides that she's going to like him and say that he was in the bunk bed? I don't understand.
I don't know.
She
doesn't want to seem like she's bad. That we weren't neglecting him. And even if that's if it somehow ended up like that, it was never intentional.
Right. Well, what you're saying, I mean, if we talk, right, there's all these things where you're like, she didn't want to seem like this, she didn't want to seem like this, she didn't want to seem like this. Did you know that it all seems like that?
Oh!
Right?
Yes.
It does. And he clearly was neglected because he died from it, right? The reality is that he was. That's why we're here talking today. So, he was very much neglected. And the fact that, she had asked you to put hot sauce on his private parts.
She asked, but I never did. I never
did that?
No.
Okay. And she had asked you to put hot sauce directly into his mouth. Did you do that?
Yes.
Is that on the 5th, the day kind of leading up to all this stuff?
Yeah.
How much hot sauce did you put in there?
That.
And whose idea was that to put that hot sauce in there?
Hers.
And what was the purpose of that?
Again, she thought the whole unresponsive was an act.
She thought it was an act?
Which clearly, very clearly it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Is the house list that you used, is that the one that was in the bathroom, or is it a different one?
That was the one in the bathroom, yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about life during this? How does that make you feel?
I just hate it. I know she doesn't want to be the bad guy. She never wanted this. We loved him so much.
I'm going to call bullshit on that. It is impossible to actually love someone and do the things that you did to him. But let's back this up because, wow, we are now looking back at the night before he was found deceased. Paul says he took his meds and he should have checked on him. He should have at least checked on him to make sure he was breathing. How could I be so stupid? No, Paul. No, you're still giving the incorrect answer. You shouldn't have just went in there to check to see if he was breathing. You should have went in there to check to see if he was breathing and immediately called the police. That's what you should have done at any moment in time, day or night. If you wake up to go to the bathroom, if you get a little itch that wakes you up in the middle of the night, you should have called the police. That is always the answer of what you should have done. Don't tell me, because he even equated him breathing to him being okay. I wanted to check to make sure he was okay, or at least that he was breathing. The bar for what they thought was okay for him didn't even exist. But that is all a little sidestep, tricky, underhanded manipulation of, I took my meds, I should have checked to see if he did this, but I didn't because I went to bed and he could have already been gone by the time I got home. What am I saying? I did not do this. That is the subconscious message under all of this of, I'm still not telling you any truths, really, very few, but I am telling you, I did not do this. He didn't actually think any of this when he got home. Then we're at the bunk bed situation, which we now know from the 911 call that she did lie and asked him to, they had to lie to say that they got him down from the bunk bed and asked Paul to put clothes on him because he wasn't wearing any, even though Paul wants to say he was in a sweatshirt because obviously she didn't want him to feel cold, even though he died from hypothermia. And even though, because Paul shows his self-awareness all the time, he definitely showed his self-awareness on that 911 call, or actually not the 911 call, but the video 18 minutes before that call. When Shanda calls him in there and they are trying to see if he is okay or not, he is the first one to come to the conclusion of, he's cold, Mom.
Everything's sick. Is he okay?
He's cold, Mom.
Yeah, I know he's cold, but he's not sick, so.
Immediately at that moment, he knew his brother was dead. And he still played his mom's game of trying to resuscitate him, even though he already knew from that moment. And then we get to this light switch, shitstorm, firestorm, OCD mess. What does this mean? I tried to document what he was saying. I got lost so many times. I like all the switches down, so I have to go over this way, over that way, and then I have to go upstairs, then I have to go downstairs, but then this one turns on the dining room light, so then I have to go over there to know this one. And then after I've done all of that, I would know by one little infraction if he was in bed or not.
Just a small sort of OCD with the light switches. Okay. So I go upstairs and I take my meds, and normally the light switches by the back door, I want them down, and then when I come over the stairs, normally when I flip it down, the light in the dining room would turn on, so I go to the stairs and flip it to turn the light on for the stairs, and the ones in the dining room down, off, go downstairs and then flip that switch to get the stairs off, and then the one in there would turn on, and that's how I would know he wasn't in the bed.
This sounds so unhinged. You are saying that you created your own patterns and your own whatever, and if your patterns didn't end the conclusion that you thought they were supposed to end, it's his fault. And he 100% did it and is not in his room. G couldn't have done anything to throw off that. I don't know. That is the wildest thing. And I get it. OCD-isms can be like that, and that's not like that hyper uncommon, but it's just the way he described it and then the conclusion he came to at the end of it is wild beyond measure to me. And so the detective is like, so you said you heard him snoring, just more lies after lies, and that was a lie, right? Long pause. Who told you to come up with that? Long pause. We know now that long pauses mean it was him or both of them. And then he says he came up with it. I feel so guilty. I could have done something at any point. Yes, you absolutely could. And you knew that. And because you're trying to manipulate him, you don't even realize that he has been dog walking you this entire interrogation, exactly where he needs you to go to admit to every little thing. He has cut off every avenue, disproven every lie, or completely just shot through it and went on to a next one. But immediately after this, he says, back to my question, but ever so gently. Because he's got Paul pegged down. He knows that if he gets aggressive too soon, that he will completely shut down and he won't get the answers that he wants. And with this case, there aren't enough questions in the world to have, and there aren't enough answers in the universe that could explain what they did and the rationale for how they did it, why, when, all of it. But, oh no, back up real quick. He said she wants the best for all of us, and then eyes the camera again. Every time he looks at that camera, he's looking at us. I want you to know she wanted the best for all of us. And yes, it could have just been an eye flutter, but the camera is at the bottom of the table. If he was just scanning around, he could be scanning up above it, to the side of it, but he locks eye contact with it. He is hyper aware, and that's why his next response is, I didn't want ... I feel so guilty. And so then he just skips over that and says, let's talk about the morning. What happened? I was grabbing my shoes. Morning was exactly the same. Gave rescue breaths. Never heard that phrasing before, but this whole family is a lot. Not surprised. But of course he had to say he had bad breath. Horrible breath, because, you know, you just got to slip in another insult at any moment. That doesn't mean anything. That's like when Sarah kept saying George was purple. It had nothing to do with anything. What are we supposed to do with that? His mouth was wet. Yes, dead bodies do a lot of strange things. That does not explain what you did. So the detective asked, does he have clothes on? Because it doesn't make sense for the clothes he had, because it was just trying to hide his emaciated body. And you also could hear on that 18-minute before the 911 call video where she flat out says, do you have your belt? I have to lie about that.
You have your belt. No. You know, put it on. I just want to make it look like it's in that way. I'm sorry about that. I have to go on the line. Yeah.
And they put clothes on him. And then Paul admits that he was in a diaper. I didn't even know this. It had gotten so bad. Well, I knew this, like, I forgot it. But he had reached a point where they were putting him in diapers. They had to buy diapers. That's when you could have called the police at any moment. You could have gotten help at any moment. But y'all spent so much money on all of these torture techniques and things to avoid accountability and to just keep doing the worst human. And so he says, we put him in the sweatpants and the sweatshirt. The we versus she, the thing again, but it's just because it's a lie. So that's why he's saying we. How could we have done it when we was at work? When we was taking our meds and turning on every light switch like a circus sideshow? I don't know. How did we put him in clothes when we said we heard him snoring and then we went to bed? So you see all the lies compound upon each other, and he's trying to both tell the truth and lie at the same time and manipulate. He's going through it. He is mentally juggling a lot right now. Then he has the nerve to say, we weren't neglecting him. Looks at the camera again. He is so hyper aware of the situation he finds himself in. We were not neglecting him. And if it ended up like that, it was never intentional. This was nothing but intentional action after intentional action after intentional action. There was nothing about this that was forced by any means. And how do we know? Because you said no to some of her requests. And this was the thing that I wasn't going to reveal earlier. But yes, the day before he died, because he was unresponsive and was slowly dying in that moment, she wanted Paul to put that scorching hot Elijah's extreme regret hot sauce on his private parts. Knowing that hot sauce can actually burn your skin is because she wanted the reaction. She wanted to say, oh, you're lying because he said she didn't believe in his unresponsiveness, which just also reveals the horror of how they treated him. If he didn't act the way that they wanted him to act, obviously they have to crank it up to the 11 to just prove that he's lying. And if he did move, if he did react, then that shows it was all an act. So Paul sternly puts his foot down and says, no, I'm not doing it. Why? Because he realizes how cruel, how absolutely sadistic doing that would be. Especially since he's been burned by that hot sauce probably a few times here and there. So what does he do to compromise? The next best thing. He shoves it straight down his throat. Equally as horrifying, equally as bad. Especially when he's unresponsive, you're going to say, you better prove it to me by me setting your insides on fire. And then I don't know if he reacted or not. He had to have done something. And then if he did react, then, oh great, now he has to stay in the cold. So he's having the hottest hot sauce poured down his throat while he's in an ice bath. And he wants me to believe that all of these revelations magically appeared. I should have done something. How could I have been so stupid? And that's not the question you need to be asking yourself. Not how could you have been so stupid. It's how could you have been so cruel, so sadistic, so evil to your biological brother. That doesn't make that much of a difference, but it's saying he did have step siblings, half siblings, and if he treated one of them like that, you know, maybe someone could put the mental barrier of them not seeing this. But no, his half brother, he treated like an angel. His full brother, he did the worst things imaginable. If any of those things, any one of those tortures were inflicted on him or Shanda, they both would have crumpled. And that's the most annoying part about it. Shanda never even tried the hot sauce once. Paul probably tried it inadvertently, and we know he got it in his eye once, but Shanda never tried it once and used it, and they knew how horrifically horrible it was, and they didn't care. And now they want us to believe that now they magically do care. How does that make you feel? I just hate it. You should have hated it 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago. And the detective is asking him, how does that make you feel? Because he still hasn't felt anything. He is saying what you need to hear, but he hasn't felt it. He is saying the same fake lines that he's heard. So he's trying to keep laying it out for him and saying, how does that make you feel? And your answer is, I just hate it. It should make you feel horrible. But because this is all an act, you're not realizing the contradiction of he's asking you all these things and you're still lying. He's a very nice detective because he does not harp on those lies. He corrects them and gently realigns and then keeps going. But if he were to harp on all of these lies, you are lying while saying you are also feeling guilty. You hate this so much, yet you're continuing the lies. And then the other thing, we never, circling back to it again, we never wanted this. We only wanted the best. We loved him so much. Is that why in all these texts you want him out of here? You want to knock him out? You want to send him to juvie? You want to threaten to call the police? You want to hit him again and again and again? You say he'll never change, so why not get rid of the problem? But now we loved him so much. Now that he's dead. Isn't that funny how that always happens in these murder cases? The day after their torturous behavior kills someone, all the remorse in the world. Oh my goodness, I had no idea. The day before, they're on cloud 9. Not a care in the world. And now that reality is crashing down and about to hit, Shanda said this in that video as well, this is all a bad dream. This cannot be happening.
This is all a bad dream. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Timothy, no, this can't happen.
It is. And it always has been happening. And Timothy's nightmare is finally over.
I don't think it's about love at this point. I think it's about not knowing what to do, not knowing how to handle the situation. We didn't know how to do anything. I don't think I've never.
The worst punishment I've ever gotten in Oklahoma, it was my father. He spanked me with a belt so hard that my butt was bruised. And at another point, they had me do wall sits. He had me do wall sits while holding 2 cans of chicken noodle soup out like this. And that was when I was in high school. I could hardly get to school the next couple of days because I had to walk. And my limbs were so stiff and filled with lactic acid that it was just painful to try and even get across the street. And again, bruises on my backside too, where it was really hard to sit at school.
What other kinds of things did you guys ever put hot sauce in your mouth?
Exactly, detective, because what the hell was that? Okay, and that's it? I was expecting a tale, an odyssey of tragedy, an evolution of growth, of how much you've gone through and how far you've gone. You got a bad spanking one time and you got bruises and it hurt to sit in class the next day. Boy, if you don't go on somewhere, I don't care. And that's why he moves right along. So, did you put hot sauce on anything else? Because you are sitting here telling me that you got a bad spanking and you had to do wall sits. Meanwhile, you're also telling us you made Timothy do wall sits until his legs were jelly. And do stairs, and do boom, and boom, and boom, and boom, and boom. Things that, if even done one time to a person, would scar them for life, potentially. But no, you didn't care. Because, yeah, you're scarred for life is getting a bad spanking once. Just...
Did you put hot sauce in his eyes or anything like that?
Not that I know of. I think at one point he may have, after he had eaten, he had forgotten to wash his hands and rubbed his eye.
Okay.
I know at one point I unintentionally done this.
Did you ever directly put hot sauce into his eye?
No, I remember, but when that happened, I helped him wash out his eyes to make sure that it wouldn't sting so much. Or it wouldn't sting at all. I'm not sure if it helped or not. But he said it was good after. I think that was a couple of weeks back.
He said he was all good after getting it in his eye and you washing it out, even though earlier you said you accidentally got it in your eye and ow, you weren't okay after that happened, but somehow the person who you've been slowly torturing is just fine with it. No, he was probably, again, it was the hyposensitivity, and after a while, like, if your whole body is just in constant pain, like, you're not going to give the reaction of someone like Paul, who, you know, is just a dainty fairy who has to deal with nothing but small little bumps and bruises here and then blows that up as if it's the biggest thing in the world. Which, yep, he said that on one of the phone calls, too, that he, like, either fell out of bed or hit his foot or something and had to get an x-ray or something and it was, like, sprained or something like that. Nothing major in the long run, but he was offended that the guards were not caring about him more and that he was getting picked on about it.
Couldn't even flex my toes. And then the, person on the button's like, well, why didn't you tell us last night when it happened? My first thought was, so they were watching last night and didn't even bother to check if I was okay?
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy. I mean, the pain's not as bad as it used to be. I can wiggle my toes now. I just try not too much because, I don't know, I don't want it to hurt anymore.
Right.
You know I'm not big on pain.
Oh, you're not big on pain? You're big on causing pain. You didn't have an issue watching Timothy through a camera and not going to check on him, but you fall out and then you get mad that the correctional officers did not go out of their way to make sure that the child killer feels great. You're right, Linda. I got off topic. But this all started because the detective is asking him, did you ever put the hot sauce in his eye? And he's asking for a very specific reason, because I thought I caught this in the 18-minute video, but I haven't seen it talked about that much. But when they are trying to resuscitate him, I'm pretty sure he smacks his face a little bit to see if he'll wake up. But there's a part where it's like hard to decipher, but what I think I hear her saying is, try in the eye. And he snaps back at her and says, now is not the time. And she says, I know.
Try not. But now is not the time. No, it's not. Try not.
For me, what I heard was try in the eye. And that's when he snapped, now's not the time. And she immediately backed down, obviously because the situation calls for it, but that also shows he could have snapped back at her at any time and she would have stood down, and he didn't. And that's why he's asking, the detective is asking the hyper-specific question of, did you put it in his eye? Why? Because the day before, you were told to pour it on his privates and pour it directly in his mouth because you believed his unresponsiveness was an act. So it is nowhere near crazy, insane, or illogical to think that she would ask you to put it in his eye to cause the most extreme pain anyone can possibly imagine. Especially if you're not, conscious, and let's just say you are alive and someone pours hot sauce in your eye and you jolt awake. They were okay with that, or she was okay with that. Paul already knew he was gone and snapped out of the delusion way quicker than she did. And it's the eyes that is another crucial thing about this 18-minute video, because she brings up the fact that his eyes are open this entire time. The whole time that they are trying to resuscitate the shell that was once Timothy Ferguson, that shell is looking directly at them.
We can't close his eyes, but that's usually a sign that he's not gone. Nobody.
And I'm calling his dead body a shell because I don't, and the judge did the same thing. No pictures of him were shown publicly. The jury had to see the pictures, but he should never be remembered by the state they put him in. And they turned his body into a prison that he was finally released from. So I find some twisted relief knowing that they had to look directly at what they did, and he was looking right back.
I'm not doing anything. His eyes should close so that thing is practical. Really not. Yeah, but they should close. They're closing now. No, keep going.
Who else can you tell me about what happened at that time? What other types of punishments did you guys have for him?
I know at one point that he was actually refusing to eat. We would give him his food and he would just be stubborn and sit there and just slowly. It was regular bread, nothing else on it. Just chow down to the point where it was basically he was trying to waste time. He could be upstairs.
Where did he spend most of his time?
In his room. We wouldn't make him stand. Sometimes we would have him kneeling, like on his knees, like this, facing one of the corners. But
what was that for? For punishment?
Yeah, I don't even know what it was for at this point. I'm not sure.
But where did he spend most of his time?
It was in that room.
I think the closet there?
Yeah, I think less than 3 or so weeks ago we've been having him try and do schoolwork, but the thing is that he's just, at this point I'm slightly curious on how he was even in sophomore year. He was supposed to be a junior next year, but we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do that because he was flunking everything, And my mother graded fairly. She used the actual answers that were on a website or in textbook or some sort of. Back in Oklahoma, he was also even destructive at school, destroying textbooks, desks, really anything.
So
He was a destructive child.
And like this all happened, right? Where you and your mom agreed to tell the same story that he was in the bunker, or how did that happen? You couldn't have both just possibly made up the same story.
No.
So what happened? She told you, right? She told you what to say. It's okay. She told you what to say. Because why? Did she tell you why? Does it look bad for you guys?
It's not just that. We loved him.
Can I ask you this, like, straight up? You keep saying love, love. Do you feel like this was love? That he's dead now because he couldn't eat food? Does that feel like love to you?
No.
He's dead because he couldn't eat.
And now we have officially reached the switch. This is when the detective is finally dropping the act and is now going to respond more truthfully how he's felt this whole time. The interrogation was over by the start of this last chunk when he said, "What else can you tell me?" Meaning he went through every single question he needed and he had for them, and he's asking, "Anything else you want to confess to?" And Paul said, "Absolutely." And that's going to be it for part 2. Again, sorry for the abrupt cut, but now that we have reached that switch, I think we're going to hold that for part 3, where the detective just goes in and is finally done with the BS and lets Paul have it. But still in a professional way. But comparatively to how he's treated him so far, the switch up is great. I have plenty to say on this last little chunk that we watched, but I think we'll just let that sit for a little bit and then we'll wrap it up in the final part. But since this is part 2 of this terrifying trilogy, I don't have a lot of wrap-up thoughts, but we went through more months of the text messages, got through deeper chunks of the interrogation, looked at the hot sauce, got to look at some more contextual elements that really set the stage for what was really happening. Oh, and just a few quick clarifications from my last video, because I asked if I get any details wrong, because I have researched this case but not as thoroughly as other cases that I have, because it's just hard to just get through. But I asked you all to politely correct me in the comments if I get anything wrong, and I did get some great answers in the comments that helped clarify some things for me further. And in both cases, my original thoughts were correct, but then upon rewatching this, I thought they were incorrect because Paul is confusing and misdirects at every turn he can. So the first one, I said in last video that Paul and Timothy left at the exact same time, were kicked out and left at the exact same time from their father's house, and that Paul went to live with his uncles or aunts and uncles for a period of time, and then Timothy went to move with Shanda, and then Paul moved in after Timothy. Originally, I had thought that Paul was already there and then Timothy showed up, and that was correct, but they happened to coincide on the same date a year apart. So Paul was kicked out on blank date, went to live with the uncle aunts for a little period of time, and then moved in with Shanda. And then 1 year later, from the date he was originally kicked out from his father's house, his father ships Timothy to Shanda. So that was the confusion. Same date, a year apart. So Paul was already with Shanda for a full year, Angie and Adam, and then Timothy showed up. There was the belief that Paul was telling the biological father that he was having a great time there and that he was doing so well. So the bio dad thought that it would be a good idea to ship Timothy there, even though he knew that both Shanda and Paul had sketchy pasts with Timothy and should not be around him. But whatever, he decided to make the worst decision of Timothy's life and he'll have to live with that for the rest of his. The other thing I got incorrect was G, Adam's son. I don't know, it was just weird wording. So originally I thought G was Adam's son, and G is the younger half-brother of Timothy and Paul, and Adam was the stepfather. I thought that he was originally his son. Then Paul got on the stand and said that Adam wasn't G's father. And people said that Paul just got confused maybe, but the phrasing of it was it was pretty clear. The prior question was Adam married to your mother at the time? Paul says yes. And is he the father of G? And Paul says no.
Your stepfather, Adam, was he married to your mother at that time?
Yes.
And is he actually the father of your younger brother, G?
No.
We find out later that Adam and Shanda were married for around 12 years. G couldn't have even been in the picture. I don't know. None of that lines up. So with that one, I'm not completely sure. The argument is that since the Vander Arks have custody over G now, that he would have to be biologically Adam's. I'm not completely sure. But for the sake of the argument, we're just going to say G was Adam's son. It makes everything clearer. So Paul was there originally before Timothy, and G is Adam's son. Those were the major ones, so please let me know if I messed up any other things, and then I'll try to incorporate the correct answer in part 3. And with that, if you enjoyed part 2 of this video, please remember to like, subscribe, comment, dislike if you're feeling it. Until next time.